Hey guys, it's RockTheGolem, and welcome to the Moral Machine. Now this is going to be different from some of the playthroughs I've done in the past, whereas this isn't so much a video game as it is a series of moral dilemmas that are going to be presented to me based on decisions that a driverless car, like an artificial intelligence system, would have to make based on certain scenarios, and we have to go through and judge those scenarios for ourselves. And the results that we pick will actually be compared to other people's results to see where it is that we fit. And also in comparison to the machine itself, I assume anyway, I don't know. So this is going to be interesting. Let's get into judging right off the bat. Alright, so what do we think the self-driving car should do? So right now we have a car going, looks like toward a barrier, and we've got some folks crossing the street over here. Let's show the descriptions on these. Alright, so in this first scenario, in this case, the self-driving car will suddenly, with a sudden brake failure, will continue ahead and crash into the concrete barrier. The result will end in one woman, one man, and two girls being dead, so the car hitting the barrier. Now, these results are supposed to be absolutes. So we can't say, oh, well, maybe if they hit the barrier, they might have a chance of surviving. We can't determine that. So in this case, in the second scenario, the self-driving car with sudden brake failure will swerve and drive through a pedestrian crossing in the other lane. This will result in two dead elderly women, one elderly man, and one woman. Note that the affected pedestrians are abiding by the law, crossing on the green signal. Oh boy. So right off the bat, we have a pretty heavy dilemma right here. Personally, I mean, at least in Massachusetts, I don't know if it's different for other states. If people are crossing in the cross lane, that they technically have the right of way, especially if they're crossing at the right time. But we're not talking about legal dilemmas here, we're talking about moral ones. So the question is, who should be saved? 2 children and 2 adults, or 3 elderly people and 1 adult? Now, for me, I believe that, you know, if I had to choose between it and I was an elderly person, I feel like, you know what, I hopefully will have lived a good life. You know, the kid hasn't had a chance to live their life yet, so they should be the ones being saved. So from my perspective, if I had to choose, I would say let the elderly people go and let the kids have a chance at life. So I'm going to pick letting the elderly people die by having the car swerve. All right, so for the next one, self-driving car with sudden brake failure will swerve and drive through a pedestrian crossing in the other lane. This will result in 1 dead female doctor, 1 woman, and 1 female athlete. In the other case, it will result in 1 male doctor, 1 man, and 1 male athlete dying. So this is women versus men. Note that the affected pedestrians are flouting the law by crossing the red signal. Note that the affected pedestrians are abiding by the law and crossing on the green signal. Now, I'm going to take profession completely out of this because the self-driving car is not going to know who's a doctor, who's an athlete, so let's take that out. In the same respect, the self-driving car more than likely won't know the difference between male and female. It'll probably just recognize there's a person there, and, you know, based on the size and maybe their posture, if they're kids or if they're adults. So with this one, what I'm going to judge on is based on who is actually obeying the law, because you'd think that the self-driving car would somehow be connected to these crossing signals, and that if the car knows that one crosswalk gives the pedestrians the right of way, but not the car, that it would go to the lane that it believes that it would go into the lane that the car believes is giving it the right of way. So let's see, they're abiding by the law by crossing on the green signal, are flouting the law by crossing on the red signal. So I'm going to go with scenario number 2 for this example and have it go through the lane that that was my nose, I'm sorry about that, I just blew it a minute ago, and go through the crosswalk that has the pedestrians not giving the right of way to the vehicles like they're supposed to. All right, scenario number 3. Let's say we have another one of these, again with 5 people. In this case, the self-driving car with sudden brake failure will continue ahead and drive through a pedestrian crossing ahead, and resulting in two large men being dead, 2 large women, and 1 woman. In this case, the self-driving car with sudden brake failure will swerve and drive through a pedestrian crossing in the other lane. This will result in 1 dead man, 1 dead male athlete, 2 dead women, and 1 female athlete being dead. This one doesn't have any cross signals, no pedestrians, with the breaking the law or like taking the right of way when they're not supposed to. And again, I want to remove professions and things like that, and gender shouldn't play a role into this either. So, and again, like size, I don't care if these people are fat, if people are skinny, whatever, it doesn't matter. A life is a life at that point. So, in this situation, because there are people crossing in the crosswalk, again, I'm from Massachusetts, so state law says that you're supposed to surrender the right of way to anyone crossing in a crosswalk. So, I'm actually going to go with the swerving scenario, because even though these people are in the crosswalk, it's technically trying to change lanes to avoid the people in front of it. So it's at least giving these people an opportunity to see the car coming, and they would be able to stop, and these people would hopefully be able to speed up. I know that these are still absolutes, where these 5 people are going to die as opposed to these 5 people, but I feel like at least it would certain sensibility on my part that it would be possible for these people to survive, whereas these people, like, they may not see it coming completely, believing they have the right of way. These people would survive, but I feel like there's a better chance of people surviving if these folks can actually see the car coming and, like, alert these folks to speed up. So I'm gonna go with scenario 2. Oh, now we got animals playing into the mix. In this case, the self-driving car with sudden brake failure will continue ahead and drive through a pedestrian crossing, which will result in 1 dead male executive, doesn't matter, 1 dead girl, and 1 dead elderly woman. Note the affected pedestrians are flouting the law by crossing the red signal. In this case, the self-driving car with sudden brake failure will swerve and drive through a pedestrian cross lane, resulting in 2 dead cats and 1 dead dog. Note that the pedestrians are abiding the law by crossing the green signal, which the animals have no concept of what the law is. So, I mean, this one's kind of difficult because the question then becomes, does the car have the ability to recognize the animals as being in the cross lane? And if that's the case, do they then, will the car be able to tell itself, which again is the reason for this quiz, could it tell itself, oh, there's people as opposed to animals, let's save the people because they're higher priority? Or does it go back to the law, whereas these people should have been giving the right of way to the vehicle, as opposed to this lane being open for the vehicle, so it would go through the one where, open for the pedestrian, so it would go through the one where the vehicle should have gone through. That's actually kind of a tough one. I don't value the lives of animals over humans. I don't value the lives of humans over animals, because to be quite honest with you, there are some humans out there that deserve to not live more than like animals do. I know people think like animals are, disposable, I guess you could say, but I'm a pet owner myself. If anyone ever came and hurt my dog, I would hunt these bastards down and make them pay for it. But in this situation, it's kind of hard to say. I feel like we have to go with like the logic of the system being that the car was meant to go in this lane because of the fact that people shouldn't have been crossing. It's not a matter of choosing the animals over the humans, it's the car basically saying to itself, no one should be in this lane, so we should go through this one because more than likely there won't be anyone there, even if it detects people. Because I don't believe that the car would be able to determine that, yes, these are animals, yes, these are humans, let's kill the animals over the humans. It should be, if you were obeying the law and the rules of the road, you would have been safe and not dead the whole time. So I think it should be this one where the people actually die. Okay, now we get the barriers and the people again. In this case, self-driving car, so this one will result in the, I'm going to stop reading these because these just take a little time. So the first one results in the car swerving and hitting the barrier, resulting in the death of a large man and a female doctor. And in the second scenario, it goes straight through and kills 5 people. So, again, this kind of like changes things up a little bit, because now we have the car recognizing that there are 5 people in the crosswalk. There are no traffic signals, though. So this means that the car would have to yield the right of way to the pedestrians, at least where I'm from. So, on top of that, though, let me get back to the original point. So, if the pedestrians have the right of way, that means the car would swerve to avoid them because the car shouldn't be in the crosswalk when people are there. The flip side of that is we're going to assume that the car knows that there are 2 people in here. There is room for 5. So either way, even if the car was at full capacity, 5 people would be dead here as opposed to 5 people dead in the crosswalk. But I know that deaths are guaranteed, but again, I'm trying to like think of it from a logical point of view. I feel like if it hit the barrier, there might be a chance for people in the car to survive because of, seat belts and airbags and just the general protection of being in the chassis of the car. Whereas opposed to these people, if they get hit by the car, they're pretty much guaranteed dead. So based on the right-of-way for the crosswalk, and also assuming that the car knows how many people could die or would die, that it would choose the lesser of 2 evils, and so we'll go with the first scenario on this one. So the second one, we have, here we go. See, we have the car full of 5 people. We have 5 people in the crosswalk crossing at an incorrect time because the traffic signal is red. And then we have the swerve to avoid them and hit the barrier. So again, we have the death of 5 people as in the car as opposed to death of 5 people in the crosswalk. Now, the funny thing about this is that they throw in extra bits into it that, again, I'm trying to ignore. The people that would die in the crosswalk are 3 homeless people, a criminal, and 1 random woman. So I think a lot of people would be tempted to say, well, there's 3 homeless people, which are probably just a waste of time or space. So who cares about them? And the criminal, taking him out is obviously like a civil duty, I guess you could say, as opposed to a doctor and 2 executives who are important people. But like that stuff shouldn't factor in. Obviously, there's no way for a car to profile someone and identify if they are a criminal, if they're homeless. I'm sure you probably in the future would be able to tell your car, hey, I'm a doctor. Refer to me as Dr. So-and-so. But it probably wouldn't understand the fact that a doctor is more important than someone else. Who knows? I don't know where the automobile industry is going with self-driving cars. That may very well be a possibility, but regardless, in this circumstance, these people are not obeying the law by going in the crosswalk when the traffic signal says it shouldn't. So the car should believe that it has the right of way, and these people are the ones that should be run over. All right, scenario number 7. Going through, why would there be a barrier in the main lane? You'd think there would be like, some signs being like, hey, construction or whatever. Sudden brake failure would continue ahead and crash into a concrete barrier, resulting in the death of 4 people. And we have 4 people here in the crosswalk that are crossing at the incorrect time. So once again, I believe the car should have the right of way based on rule of the road. So these people should not be in the crosswalk at this point in time. So I'm going to say scenario 2 is the one that should occur. All right, question number 8. So we're back to the crosswalk thing. Now, we have no traffic signals, so everyone should have the right of way going through. So now we have the death of 3 boys and 1 elderly man, or the death of 3 girls and 1 elderly woman. So either way, 3 children and 1 elder are going to die. So we have the car going straight through, and we have the car swerving. So neither scenario is a preferable one. So with this one, we really have to go with raw logic here. Again, I'm taking gender completely out, and taking age out doesn't even matter because no matter which scenario we're in, 3 children and 1 elder are going to die. But what I'm going to go with is I'm going to go with the swerving scenario because with no traffic signals, the pedestrians in the crosswalk should have the right of way, which means that the car should swerve to avoid the people. And again, I'm going to go with the whole idea that if it's going into the other lane, like these people might be able to warn the people ahead of them. There's a there's a larger chance of them surviving. They're more likely to survive, even though the quiz does say that like these are absolute deaths. There's no getting around it. These people are going to die, but I feel like the better option is to give people more time by swerving and making a longer path. Because the old saying goes, the quickest distance between 2 points is a direct path. So if anyone who knows, if you ever did, if you remember your days in algebra, going down along one side will never be as long as going down along the hypotenuse. So this length and this length will always be shorter than the diagonal of the triangle. So by going in this direction, the car is actually giving these pedestrians more time to react. Even though they will die in this scenario, the more reasonable decision the car should make is to try to give the people more time. So let's go with this first scenario here. All right, question 9. So we've got a dog and we've got the barrier. oh, this might actually try to turn some of the logic I've been throwing out here on my head. So we've got one dead dog that's actually obeying the traffic signals, and we've got 4 dead people and 1 dead cat, because beforehand I had said that if someone was obeying the crossing signal law, that the car should swerve to avoid the people in there. And the sad thing is despite the fact that 5 people are going to die, I feel like I have to, stick to my morals here and say that that's exactly what the car should do. Because according to this traffic signal, whoever is in the crosswalk, whether it recognizes it being a dog, a person, whatever age they are, whatever, station they have in life, the car should swerve to avoid anyone who has the right of way. So despite the fact that 5 creatures are going to die, I still say that the car should obey its rules of logic and grant the right of way to whoever's in the crosswalk. So unfortunately, these 5 people are going to go the way of the dodo. So sorry. And we've got another scenario like before again. This time we've got 1 male executive and 1 doctor, and 1 homeless person and 1 woman. And again, there's a crosswalk, no signals, so whoever's in the crosswalk has the right of way. Again, I'm going to go with my original logic of trying to grant the people here as much time as possible, longer distance to travel, the possibility of the people behind them seeing it and warning them. It doesn't matter if it's an executive and a doctor as opposed to a homeless person and just some regular woman that apparently isn't any, higher social standing in life. It doesn't make a difference. A life is a life. So for me, the better option would be to grant people more time as before and swerve to try to avoid the main road. So now we have 4 people and we have 4 animals. Once again, though, we have the traffic signal that comes into play. So whoever is in the crosswalk, whether it's an animal, a creature, or whatever, the car should recognize the traffic signal being green, which allows the people the right of way. So unfortunately, the pedestrians abiding by the law, once again, the car needs to swerve. I'm going to maintain this logic. For me, it can't be a matter of the car recognizing animals over people. I mean, the technology may already be there. I don't know. I don't follow the self-driving car thing that closely. The only thing that matters to me is when it comes out, because I have a slap bet with one of my friends as to the specific date in which it comes out. If it's before then, I get to be slapped. If it's after that date, I get to slap him. So that's really the only part I'm focusing on right now, because honestly, I enjoy driving. I don't really want to give up control of my car. I can see the benefits behind it, especially with, stuff like this, with preventing accidents and things, but I like being able to just drive around and relax. It is relaxing to me. But again, in this circumstance, the pedestrians are obeying the law. So the people in the car should know that if the crosswalk then is a protected area for whoever's in it. So because they have the right of way, it should swerve to hit the barrier. And again, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you're stupid, like you're saving animals over people. That's not going to factor in for me. I told you, like, it's going to be about, logic and reasoning and trying to maintain that standard, which I believe I'm doing all through this thing. I'm only on question 12. I got 2 more. I got this and 1 more to go. So now we've got a mix of traffic signals and a mix of people as well. So we have people flouting the traffic laws, a woman and an elderly man, and we have people obeying the traffic laws, a man and a girl. So once again, if they are obeying the traffic law, they have the right of way in the crosswalk, but if they don't, then the car has the right of way. So even though it's swerving into another lane, it's protecting the people that have the legal right to be there. So I say it should swerve, and even though it'll take out an elder and a woman, that's what it should do. And the final scenario that we have here, we're throwing infants in here now, babies and strollers. So, sudden brake failure, we'll continue ahead and drive through. 1 male athlete, 1 baby, 1 criminal, 1 homeless person, 1 male athlete, 1 baby, 1 criminal, and 2 homeless people. So, the only difference is that there's an additional person, whether it's homeless or not. So it's 5 deaths as opposed to 4. But again, we have that whole, the legal aspect of it where these people are in the crosswalk. They're supposed to be protected because even though there's no traffic signals, if you're crossing in the crosswalk, you have the right of way. And again, like, this is what it is in Massachusetts. I have no idea what it's like in any other state. These are the rules of the road that I know. I don't know if it's different in other states or not, but like, based on that, that's how I'm making these decisions. So these 4 people should be protected because they have the right of way in the crosswalk, and these 5 people, got to take their chances with the barrier. Obviously, they're all going to die, but that's what the car should do. It should swerve to save these people and crash into the barrier. So that is the final question. Would you like to help us better understand your judgment? Sure, why not? Oh, I gotta fill all this stuff in. All right, give me. Actually, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't need to help them with that. I just want to see the stats on this one. Wow, okay, so the most saved character was the dog. You're welcome, Kira. The most killed character was the elderly man. Sorry, Gramps, you're already dead, so I don't have to worry about you getting killed by self-driving cars, so, I don't have to worry about that, but, I don't know what this says about me right here. But a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you suck, you're like an animal hugger, you're like a PETA enthusiast. I'm really not. Like I said, I don't put value of animals over people. I don't put value of people over animals. To me, it's all very subjective. It's a case-by-case type thing. Like, you can't judge everyone by one standard. Like, everyone is different. So saving more lives. So where am I? So saving more lives does not matter. I'm on the so the quantity of life doesn't matter to me as much as it does to others. So people are more willing to accept the lesser of 2 evils by saving more people, despite who exactly would be saved. Protecting passengers, the average is almost right down the middle. I fall a little bit underneath that because it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter whether it's a passenger or a pedestrian, even though in my opinion, I believe the passengers are more protected because of, like I said, being in the car, having airbags, having seatbelts. They can survive much easier than a person that's just being rammed into by a car. So here we go, upholding the law. Most people do side with it. I'm very heavily into, mattering a lot by upholding the law. And let's face it, the law is going to be a big factor in what plays into how automated cars are working. And say a car does malfunction and runs someone over, who's at fault? Is it the person who was in the car, the person that owns the car? Was it the manufacturer that built it? Was it the computer company that made the system? Like, whose fault is it that there was that malfunction? So upholding the law is going to be a big factor in all this, especially to me. So I'm kind of happy that I saw that come up there, but also that's what I was preaching the whole time. So avoiding intervention does not matter and matters a lot. I don't know, this one's a little confusing to me, but like, this is where I fall in avoiding intervention. I'm very heavily toward does not matter. Gender preference. Wow, I apparently very heavily favored females, despite me saying that it doesn't matter about gender. Same thing with species and also age preference. I am on the very far end of the scales, but I took all of that completely out of the equation. So I'm shocked and also kind of entertained by the fact that I heavily favor females, animals over humans, and youth over elders. Like this, I do understand the youth over the elders, because I did say at the beginning that if it were me in this situation and I can choose, if an elder person dies or a baby dies, the elderly person has already lived their life. Like, they may only have a few years left. Like, who knows? They could drop dead the second you make the decision. But the youth, even though they could still also maybe drop dead the second after you make the decision, they have their whole lives ahead of them. Like, they should be allowed to live a life, hopefully one of meaning, as opposed to someone who either has lived their life or has missed out on it and is just out of time. Like, I believe the youth should be protected, but this still baffles me. I understand where the statistics came from, but I did try to take, being human or an animal and being male or female out of the equation. I'm just kind of tickled that these all went to the extremes. Fitness preference, and wow, right down the middle, same thing with social value. Like, see, this is more what I expected to see, because I said right off the bat that I wasn't going to let that factor into this, but as you can see, it worked with fitness and social value. But for whatever reason, the other ones were on the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So I'm kind of I'm very entertained, but also baffled the fact that these three up top didn't match up the way the two on the bottom did. But wow, okay, so that's the moral machine, guys. I mean, it's really hard to stick to your guns with stuff like that, because you got to go into it with a certain set of, you know, rules in place, which is kind of what I did with upholding the law, when I said, you know, it's not going to be about, you know, who the people are or what they are. It's going to be about where they are, what the situation is at the moment, and what the car should do based on logic and reasoning. So those are my results. I would love to see how your guys actually stacked up in comparison to mine. And if you actually do go through and go all these scenarios and you have your results, feel free to share them below. I'd love to see where you guys fit in comparison to me. So that's the moral machine, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. If you liked what you've seen and heard, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And having said all that, I will see you all on the other side. Take care.